Design Salvation, episode 33.
This is Design Salvation, your lifeline to better design with Dixie and Annie. Our mission is to share our conversation with you so we can all elevate our work and lifestyle. Welcome to the fold.
Hey, y'all, it's Dixie Stark.
And Annie Lundquist.
We're Design Salvation.
And we're in a new format today. It's kind of exciting. We're trying an experiment.
We absolutely are, because Annie is in her studio and I am in my studio, and we are recording, and this is like groundbreaking for us.
It's a fairly big experiment that I'm quite liking because Dixie's in charge.
Oh, yeah. You only get one host on this thing, and I'm the host. And so here we are. I get to manage all the controls, which is quite frightening. But it's good because if Annie and I can't be in the studio together, we have another alternative to bring you good content and to still keep up and issue you an episode every Wednesday morning, bright and early. You get to hear Design Salvation. So there you have it.
I think it's great. The only struggle I've had is I have cords everywhere.
Well, you know what? We had a little problem getting mics and extra
and headphones
and
blah, blah, blah.
everything set up.
The neighbor, Amy
zoo.
and Keith, as always, my neighbors rescued me with
to the rescue.
To the rescue. I tell you, there's nothing like good neighbors. And
amen to that.
Yeah. Cultivate at least one. Find someone in your neighborhood.
I mean,
it's your little resource.
Man, I can't say it enough. I have really good neighbors. And every time there's, anything that we need, they are Johnny on the spot. So go, Amy and Keith. Yay.
Well,
We're
and
so
she
happy.
also brought over lunch of homemade chicken soup and butterscotch pudding with sea salt on top. That's incredible. So that
My
came
mouth
with
is
the
watering right
headphones.
now. That is not.
I know.
That's not fair. And see,
It's
this
not
is
fair.
the thing. When we're doing this remotely, we're not having our cocktails. What the heck?
Oh, that's right. Well,
I need to just make one up and pretend that you're here.
Well,
shoot.
We'll work on that.
Okay, we'll work on that. All right.
Otherwise, I think this is going to work.
It's going to be good.
In a little bit of a pinch.
In a little bit of a pinch, because if we're traveling and things are just crazy pants, then we can do this. Hey, you know what? I have your house beautiful. You left it over here at my place, and I started perusing through it.
I didn't even read it yet.
Well, shoot. I've pretty much gone through it. Am I going to spoil it by kind of telling you some of my takeaways?
No, let's go.
Oh, okay. Let's go. It's kind of exciting because they talk about the shops across the country that are kind of like the go-to shops, and they're a little bit DIY, but designers also are kind of like flocking to these places. And a lot of them
what do you mean DIY shop?
Well, where basically somebody's wanting to make their house look a little bit better, but they're wanting to do it on their own, but they want to do it like a designer would do it. So they're going to these places that designers either frequent or that are maybe even started by a design firm, and utilizing those resources instead of like Walmart or Target or whatever it is. And it's funny because if you think that Wayfair is just online, they actually are not now. They have a shop in Massachusetts, and then like Ballard Design, they actually have a shop in Atlanta now.
Oh, I have been to that shop, not in Atlanta.
Oh, they have
one. Yeah, they have one just outside of Fort Worth, and I think it's called Clear Fork. And I went there to the opening, and I have to say, I was impressed. It makes such a difference to see things.
To see it in person.
It totally does. Because and like all those types of places, Wayfair, Ballard Designs, that I think the quality is inconsistent. So
it is.
It's so helpful to see it in person because some of it looks great.
And other things, the finishes aren't patinaed right, or they're not quite good. And it's good to be able to like put your eyes on it and be able to discern that.
No, it's fantastic. And we don't have that here.
We don't have anything like that I am aware of in Seattle. Like, we talked about the one shop a while back that's based in Seattle, but this is a little bit more designer oriented. I mean, do you know Foundry Home Goods?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
yeah. See, they've got a place in Minneapolis now.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I'm like, this is so stinking cool. And then, of course, if you're in Texas, you were just talking about Texas. Waco, for instance, has Magnolia Home, of course.
Where I call it Magnolia
Market.
So
Why have you been to all these places and I did not know about this? What the heck?
Waco, I used to, because Lulu was equestrian, we had to go to horse shows. I can't even tell you how many times I've been to Waco. So when you're in Waco, and we're in the not so desirable part of Waco, not the cute,
right?
There's a tiny, cute downtown.
Little section.
Yes. And so I am absolutely bored silly with Waco. So I'm like, Lulu, you deal with your horse stuff today. I'm going on a field trip. So I went to Magnolia Home. This was a couple years ago, at least. No, it had to have been 3 or 4 years ago because Lulu was already a junior. So time flies.
Good grief.
Anyway, I got there and I called Deke and I'm like, holy crow. This is like Disneyland for people who are design curious. This is crazy. How many people? I had to wait in line 45 minutes to get into the store.
I mean, so I believe you because listen to this. This House Beautiful notes, it says, this is the most visited place in all of Texas, not Dallas Cowboys Stadium or the Alamo. No, it is the headquarters for Chip and Joanna Gaines.
Yeah, it is like it in Disneyland. Waco. It's weird. It's totally weird. And so
that's so much fun.
It's charming and there are cute parts of it. But, once I got in the store, I literally was there 5 minutes because it was such a crush and you've seen the goods. You know her look.
Of course you have.
It's not super unique and special. But what I did like was that they were hosting sort of a fair at the time. So they had all these little tents set up around the perimeter in the streets where there were smaller vendors. And
that's fun.
That was
like fun. A little flea market.
Like business. A little, and really good vendors and good stuff. And then they also have a darling bakery and blah, blah, blah. But
yes, I've seen the bakery on the HGTV series. So
yeah, it's cute. Fun. But it was crazy to think that it's such a draw, that it is that visited, which means to me, I mean, there's just this need. People just have this.
There is a need.
And it's a lovely need because they want to make their homes and lives better.
They want to make their homes beautiful. Yeah. And who better to help you do that than an interior designer? But if you can't afford it or you're feeling like you want to dip that toe into the water, there are all these great shops out there that weren't there before. And like one of the ones that's mentioned is Shop Amber Interiors. And they started off just doing pillows. Just pillows, like on Instagram, this, that, and the other. And they have this wonderful section of apothecary goods and dishware. And it's just all this kind of stuff. And, the majority of these companies also work with the trade. So if you are a trade member, in the industry, then obviously you get those rewards and perks. And if you aren't, you still have access to really, pretty good, fun stuff.
Well, and we've got to shop online because Seattle doesn't have enough options for us as designers. And if you need ready-made stuff, it's not at the design center. So you that's great. I'm going to have to read this issue. So
I know. You're going to have to see this issue. I thought it was really, really good. And I just was like, this is food for thought. Now, wait, your seamstress was over at your place earlier because we couldn't even get on and record until you got finished up with her.
I love chatting with her.
What are you doing? You were like, I'm busy. I can't. And so what were you doing?
Well, we did have a cup of tea, I must say. We started with that. So that's part of the problem.
Okay, so that was your cocktail before you recorded without me.
We had mint tea.
Rude.
I know. Totally rude.
I love mint tea.
My favorite. Is the Zen. I think it's the Zen tea, the Tazo Zen.
That's the best.
It is.
For mint, that's the best.
It is the best. Okay.
I also like my licorice mint, but okay, that's a side note. What were you doing with her?
So we just a couple small things we were doing.
Not that it's any of my business, but me and the listeners want to know.
Okay, well, we were doing some pillows for a client using
fun
fabric inventory that I have, and then which we can talk about further. That's a good discussion.
That's a good little.
And then we were also doing curtains that my client had that were ready made. I think they were restoration. They're linen and sort of sheer, nice warm color, and just adding a passementerie, adding a trim. And so whether we were going to put it on the leading edge, because it's a little wood bead from Samuel and Sons, a really discreet one. Like, were we going to do it on the leading edge or slightly inset or completely inset into the...
So what led you to that decision? Because I know that like on some of the pre-made draperies, sometimes the hem itself is deeper. It's not like a rolled French hem, but it's rather like 3 or 4 inches. And so that gives you a good straight edge to put, passementerie on. But sometimes if you don't have that, then it's a little bit harder.
Yeah, this had enough of an edge, and because we are fully insetting it actually, which is interesting because
and you can see it.
Well, yeah, and I also, my client, wood beads are very playful, and
is that what you're putting on there?
Yeah, but she's not the most playful client, so I thought let's just make it a little more subtle for her.
Understated. A little bit more understated.
So it doesn't look like baubles running down the edge, because she's a wonderful client, but she's not playful.
She's way more tailored.
Yes. So that's why we made that decision. And my seamstress is kind enough. She's going to hand sew that on. So it's...
Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay. That is very kind of her. So that, that does have me wanting to ask you the question. So you said you were having a couple of pillows or one made from basically your stock.
I have a big
versus,
stash.
Something that maybe you ordered in the fabric and all the passementerie and acquired. So I was just going to ask you, do you ever make pillows up because you come up with a great idea and you stash them, or do you wait? Because I've changed my tune on all of that.
Never make them up in advance, ever, because there's no way I'll get it right.
It'll work.
It'll be something will be a little bit off. And this client we've done a lot of custom pillows for her. And this is for like a mudroom bench. It's not super, and she said, she asked me specifically, she said, do you have something in stock so I don't have to, go spend that much money on the whole
fabric and have a lot of waste
and
all that. The thing is, a lot of people may or may not know, whether, you're in the field or not, is that there are minimum orders on a lot of the textiles that we would source as a wholesale industry member. And so that starts to get you in a pinch if you don't need multiple pillows. So all of a sudden you've had to buy 2 yards or a 3-yard minimum for one pillow. So there's a lot of waste and leftovers.
Yeah, and if you're buying a fabric that's over, $100 or $200 a yard, you're getting into it. Could be way more than that, but
but still,
when you just want to go,
that's expensive.
But there's something fabulous and far more interesting about creating custom out of existing inventory than going to Pottery Barn or, swirling around the neighborhood trying to find the right pillow. You won't find it. Rarely.
Exactly. And what y'all don't know, or what many of you probably know, but you might not know, but I'm going to disclose, and I hope you're okay with this, is that Annie's got quite the stash. I mean, I can call Annie up and go, Annie, do you have a tapestry? Annie, do you have any Fortuny? Annie, I need a little bit of trim for this, that, or the other. And she 9 times out of 10 has it in about 5 colors.
I
mean, girl likes to stash her some textiles.
It makes me feel...
This is a confession that I'm doing for you. How about that?
I am fine with that, because I am a little bit of a hoarder on fabric, because it's a safety measure too. It gets you out of a last minute bind, or if you just need a backing for a pillow, or it is a backup. It really helps me do my job better. But I will say that over the years, I have purchased less and less potential
in speculation.
No, because the jobs are just too specific, and you want it to be just perfect.
They really are.
So I would never make up pillows in advance. I would never purchase, unless they're the really, I purchase a lot of my fabrics because they're discontinued. They're unique.
Or discontinued.
Yeah, like the Fortuny, if I find it at a great price, I always buy Fortuny. And and I always buy Braconnier or things like that are discontinued.
Very lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Fortuny is the Italian block printed deliciousness.
Yeah, kind of the boutique style that nobody can reproduce at all. And
Nobody knows how to
do it.
And
if you go to,
they are the only ones.
And if you are all traveling at any time to Venice, you must go to the little showroom. It's so exquisite.
I have been to Venice, but I did not make it to the showroom because I was far too ignorant when I was there 20-something years ago. So, I didn't do that. And I'm really, really, really regretting it.
Well, the fun thing there, too, is that they have 1 and 2 yard and half yard pieces that you can purchase off the floor. I wish we had that here. It would solve all of our problems. Too.
Well, it would because, the fabric is quite expensive and worth every stinking cent. But
and did you know that Fortuny just left the local showroom here? We don't have it in the racks anymore. I think it's going to be an outside rep.
Too bad. Oh, that's too bad. But you know what? I have a ton of the samples, so I will probably I'll probably survive. I get that one client maybe once every 2 to 3 years that either requests it or understands it or appreciates it, and I get to use it. And I'm the same way. I will keep a scrap of Fortuny. Yes. I kid you not. If it's only 3 inches, I'll keep it.
I had a client that her mother had exquisite taste and was deceased and had passed stuff on. And she passed on to not the daughter, but the granddaughter.
The granddaughter.
A Fortuny sofa. That was, yes. And she used it with her kids. And so the thing was completely beat up. And so I traded it for hours. She didn't want the sofa anymore because I traded. I got the sofa and then I just ripped every piece of Fortuny off of it. Every scrap. You should have seen me.
This is another confession that I absolutely love. Yeah. This is fantastic. And you took all the Fortuny off. I have to ask what color it was.
It's this beautiful, that rich sort of burnt orange they do. Only not that burnt. More, yeah, persimmon's better. And it had a little bit of red in it too. So persimmon, it was gorgeous. Job. And the thing with Fortuny too is that the front side, particularly on the arms of the sofa, were very tired and dirty, but you can flip it over.
The backside. I know.
Pristine.
The backside.
Pristine.
Girl, I'm following you on that. Oh my gosh.
So that was fun, but that was quite an adventure. I thought, why didn't I have the upholsterer take this apart? But I thought he wouldn't be as diligent as I. But I don't really know how to get the fabric off, but I did.
And intact.
And the other thing that I noted was if I was upholstering or having someone upholster a chair or a sofa in Fortuny for me, I would be like, do not tuck any excessive fabric into the, because this person obviously had so much yardage. So there was so much overage tucked into the corners and this and that I was seriously? Like, wow,
that's kind of
crazy.
Crazy. Yikes. Crazy. I love all these stories. Well, I tell you, I used to make pillows a lot when I had my showroom because I constantly sold pillows off the sales floor. So if I got a stash or I got any sort of great idea, I would just go ahead and put it into production. And I had so many one-of-a-kind pillows. But I don't do that at all now, just basically for the same reasons that you said. And that is every job is so different and specific. And the one time that I would put I call it my micro welt or the baby welt, and I would do it in, say, a pale gray, it would need to be a pale blue.
Exactly.
Or a pale pink. Exactly. And I'm like, dang it to dang. And I can't tell you how many times I've had to rework some pillows because I had some, in the showroom, and then a designer would come in or, a retail client, and I would have to modify some little element of it. So that is something I don't do anymore. However, I always tell the clients, now this is your fabric. You have purchased it. It's all the scraps are yours if you want them. But it's kind of crazy because I would say 8 times out of 10, they don't want their scraps.
I know.
They don't know what to do with it. And they don't know what to do.
And they don't want to just store it for years.
Exactly.
So true.
They just let me have it. And I'm like, I have a sense of the guilty. So I'm like, okay, I cannot believe that they just let me have the leftovers of this fabric. And of course, I understand the value. And of course, I can come up with a way with which to use it. And I think that's what your client was saying. Annie, do you have anything in your stash that we could utilize versus having to go to the showroom, spend the time,
pay for my hours,
pay for your hourly, and then on top of that, order a 2 or 3 yard minimum. And I really just need one little old pillow for my mudroom bench.
Exactly.
And I'm sure that you got way more creative with the things that you had because you had, limitations. So
completely. I think there's an efficiency model there that we all have to be able to adapt to for our clients. Because the thing with custom pillows that's so spectacular is if you do them right for your clients, they literally will have them forever. They're not going to replace them, and they don't need to be replaced.
Exactly.
So and even these efficiency model ones that the quick and dirty are
down and dirty.
They're still just as special, and
they're lovely.
Rather than going to Pottery Barn and saying, "Oh, that one's not quite. That one's okay. I could get away with that. I'll make that work."
And the thing is, the way they save money is they just put like an inexpensive back, and they put their show material or their more expensive material on the face. See, if you get a designer to do it, both sides can be lovely. And it's not that concept doesn't work, because it does. It's just that a custom pillow, you can't beat it.
You totally notice the difference.
I know. You can notice it, and inserts are also kind of critical. That's the thing a designer can do for you, is they can get you really good inserts so that, you don't have quills coming through the pillow, and that you have a good ratio of down to feather so that it has the right
So let's talk about what ratio you like. What ratio do you like? Yeah. Lay it out there, girl.
I usually do 75-25 or 90-10. So if I'm trying to save money, I do 75 down and 25 feather. But if I'm able to do the full meal deal, I'll do 90-10. And I always have to tell my seamstress, I'm always like, well, I want it 3/4 full, because when you have those made, a lot of times they want to really stuff it full. And I always tell her 3/4 full. Now that just happens to be with my particular seamstress and workroom and resources. But most of the time, a standard fullness is good, but you have to go up. If you're using down, you have to go up an inch or two in the form if you really do want your pillow to be full. And so like if you have a 22, you got to go up to a 24.
And sometimes you want a really plump pillow and sometimes you don't. I mean,
sometimes you want it. Kind of. And I'm one of those that don't like them as plump. I like them a little frumpy in more times than not. But there are some clients that are really using their pillows. They're not for show and they want them a little bit more full. And I'm so accommodating to what those requests are. And I keep that in mind when I'm selecting the fabric. So like, for instance, if a client wants a really full pillow, I'm probably not going to put them in a cotton. I don't want it to look like it's busting at the seams like a really bad tight t-shirt, I'm going to pick a heavier fabric or maybe something with a texture or a weave, as opposed to the client that says, I do want something a little bit frumpier and I don't like super, super full pillows. Then I feel like the world is my oyster and I can kind of get a little more flexible with the fabric choice or go with a slightly lighter weight fabric. Yeah. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
I would agree. And I sometimes the really plump pillow, like with a Turkish corner, is super yummy. But if you're doing a welt, I like a little less fullness, so it doesn't look so proud and important. I like everything to just sort of look like it just happened.
It just happened. It's just easy and effortless. It's this understated, just sophistication that you kind of know it's there, and it's not like you're trying too hard. It's like with an outfit where sometimes you get all dolled up and you put way too many accessories on and your shirt is way too pristine, and you would have been a lot better off to just go grab that linen thing and run with it.
That's a really good analogy.
So sometimes the trying too hard can just be so in your face, so obvious that you're like, I tried a little too hard on that one. But I just don't do that anymore, and I just hang on to the really good stuff, and then I donate any textiles that are things that are less satisfactory, or I trade with another designer like you.
Yeah.
I think the trading thing is so important.
I think that's really smart to
trading amongst yourselves.
Get your little design community to because everyone would love that, and you really can only trade with other designers. It's not like you can.
Yeah, because other designers appreciate what you have, and we know what is kind of equivalent. You know what you're going to use, what your clientele's requesting the most, and it's just a shame to let your fabrics go out there to where they might be being used but underappreciated. Most of these things come from France and from Italy and all these lovely mills and, places all over the world.
So interesting. I was just watching this morning Quintessence, that wonderful one that does the videos and interviews, all that. So Stacy, the one part of Quintessence, is at Paris Deco Off.
Nice.
And she interviewed.
We were going to be there.
We're going next year. We're going next year. I can't wait. So she was interviewing Pierre Frey, who's the son. Patrick Frey. She did a really good interview with him, and she just walked through the showroom, and he laid out the whole new line of fabrics, and it was really fun, obviously, to hear him talk about them. But
where did you see that, on Instagram? Or
on Instagram. Okay. It's like one of those little movies that you can go longer.
I love that.
And and he just walked through the showroom, and you could really see the fabrics, and it was almost like being there. It was really
so
good.
Exciting. Now, we're going to bring that to you guys next year.
We are going to bring that.
We are going to do that next year. We had intentions this year. We're going to do it next year for sure, and we're going to be the ones putting those videos up.
Well, we are, and I know. I mean, the Freys in particular are so friendly and nice. They'd be
they're
so
lovely.
open to that.
Lovely
and
family.
Whoever else we can,
Almost all of those vendors that are represented there that have places are so hospitable to having designers, come through and take a look, to showcase their product.
They love it. And he often references, they have an amazing archive, which I was fortunate enough last time I was there to visit. And it's extraordinary. The drawers and drawers of ancient little scraps of fabric that they know everything about, everything they can possibly, and you wear the little white gloves to touch them.
So great. It's like you're in your own little museum. Yeah, they've documented everything. That is so fantastic.
And they just keep building that archive. Like they just keep building it.
That's and that's so much fun because that is such a huge part of not only the interiors history, but it's like history at large. Like this is what things looked at the time. It's a great way to just document, and then the processes that they used back then versus the processes we use now. And
I do have some huge reservations about where the fabric world is going, but that might be a discussion for another day.
You table that and think about that
because I am not happy with a couple trends. I'm not happy.
Yeah, I know, which I can probably tell you one right now that you're probably not happy with, and we will table that for a future discussion because you know what? I don't think we even thought we were going to be talking about pillows and fabric at the beginning of this, but we ended up that way. And hopefully you guys got to get a little tidbit of this, that, or the other. We appreciate you listening, of course. And we've got all these listeners from all these places all over the world, and probably from places that we mentioned where they're making all these lovely textiles. And we so appreciate you. Yeah.
We do. And we've chatted for a while. My little helper's here because I'm at home. So my helper's here and I've got to get to work.
We got to scoot a boot. So that's ciao for now. And we'll talk to you soon.
Ciao for now.
Hey, y'all. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. You can also find us at designsalvation.com, where we'll have the past podcasts listed as well as show notes. Hope to see you there.